Welcome to a very special episode of Armchair Expert. This is a long time coming.
I'm so excited.
Me too. We've been trying to get this gal since we started.
A decade.
Yes. And I want to put it right here in the intro because she brings it up later. That I wrote her a letter to explain to her that she's my number one queen.
Love letter.
Of comedy, and on her ride here, she heard that I spoke similarly of Will Ferrell, to which I replied, yes, of course. Also Will Ferrell in the male department. I want to state it clearly. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you're my queen. I don't think there's a better comedian alive. What do I do to the ground she walks on? Hump it?
No, why don't we just
kiss
go
it.
classic,
Let's skip it. Okay. You're my queen.
Classy.
You're my queen. I love you. And every word I wrote to you was sincere. So, yes, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I don't even need to read this list, but I'm gonna. Seinfeld, Veep, The New Adventures of Old Christine, Curb Your Enthusiasm. It just simply doesn't get better than her.
No, it does not. What a dream.
I was really proud of you because you were very deferential and kind despite the fact that she has 24 Emmy nominations.
And I only have one, and I'm jealous.
Yes. I thought it was really big of you to be able to enjoy her success.
Well, I'm really big on the inside.
Yeah, I wonder, though, what age her first Emmy nomination was, because you're only 31.
I have time. Yeah, I have time to rack up 23
I think
more
you need to get nominated every single year going
for the
forward.
rest of my life. That's a good goal.
Yeah, it's a really realistic goal.
I'm going to do that.
You do. You want all those accolades?
Yeah.
Well, you deserve them.
I like winning.
Okay, well, gang, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, please enjoy our favorite queen.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Now, I've only written a few love letters to get a guest on the show.
Yeah.
Did my love letter get to you?
Yeah.
Okay. When I was really trying to straddle too much and just charming enough.
Yes.
How did I do?
You did really well, but then on my drive over here today, I listened to your interview of Will Ferrell, or part of it.
Yeah.
And you said the same loving things to him.
Well, here's the thing.
So I think you're full of bullshit.
What if I told you this, though? He is my male. And you're my female.
Yeah. That's probably true.
No,
right?
it's 100% true.
I would.
Listen, I have a lot of documentation to back me up. If you were to have consumed all 120 episodes of this show, you would have heard me talk about how in love I am with you many times. Completely unmotivated by getting you on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's really nice. Thank you very much. Now I'm starting to feel better again.
Okay, good. But yes, you definitely listened to the worst episode possible in Will Ferrell if you were on high alert for me being a sycophant, because I do worship him. I really do.
He's lovely. Yes.
You just did a movie with him, right?
I did, yeah.
Which one?
We did a movie called Downhill, which is a remake of a Swedish film called Force Majeure. Will and I were practically living together for 2 months, January and February, and we were living together in Austria. Well, we weren't really living together, but our rooms were next door to one another.
They were.
Yeah, and we were working all day long, and we were skiing and doing all this. I mean, it was crazy.
Did you know Will before doing that movie?
No. We had never, ever met.
Do you play lovers in the film?
Yes, husband and wife.
Oh, you do?
If you call husband and wife lovers.
No. In fact, I think it's antithetical to lovers being married. So you didn't know him, but you must have loved him like we all do, right?
Of course. I'm a massive fan.
Yeah. Wait, are you a producer on the movie?
I am.
Okay, so you produced the movie. Did you bring it to Will?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
And did the idea come from you, or did you option something?
I made this movie a number of years ago called Enough Said with Fox Searchlight. And after that, I had a lunch meeting, and I was talking about a kind of story that I like. And that story is the notion of seeing life one way, and then a lens is sort of taken off of what you're seeing. And all of a sudden, reality is shifted dramatically.
Yes.
I like that theme.
Yeah.
And they said, we just saw this movie at Cannes or something. It's incredible. You should watch it. Well, blah, blah, blah. It was called this movie, Force Majeure. It was critically, hugely acclaimed Swedish film.
Yeah.
And so I watched it and I loved it, and thus began the process of adapting it.
Yeah, and now, because I've seen this done a few times, right? Like Let the Right One In. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Okay, I'm not into horror movies in general, but
I can't watch those.
But this is just a beautiful love story called Let the Right One In. And I want to say it's Scandinavian of some variety.
Some Danish, I think.
It's beautiful. And then they remade it here.
But wait a minute, I thought you just said it's a horror movie.
It is, but it's
It's
not.
vampires.
Oh, I'm not watching that.
Listen to me. Don't stop using trigger words,
Well,
Monica.
I got to prepare her properly.
If I was being sold
She's
this
gonna
movie,
be
the
mad
last
at
thing I'd
you.
want to hear is vampires or horror. Let me just say, it's a love story
Between vampires.
between a little creature who doesn't fit in. She's a young girl.
Yeah.
And a little boy who doesn't fit in at all either.
Okay.
She's a young vampire.
Monica,
If I'm just-
please.
I just
enough.
gotta be.
Yeah.
Guys,
enough with the
enjoy
vampires.
watching it again. I can't make it to that gathering.
There's been exceptions, though, right? Like Get Out. You must have seen Get Out.
I saw only part of it. I had to walk out of the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really get too scared at horror movies.
Oh, I'm so envious. So Monica and Kristen also, those two, when there's a pop out, they legit jump off the couch and stuff. I'm just looking at it with deep jealousy.
My son has a friend named Chase, and his friend Chase was at a horror movie with my boy Charlie, and some pop out happened, and Chase screamed and then fainted.
Oh, he fainted.
Fainted. He just
Oh, wow.
passed out completely.
I'm super jealous of Chase. That would be the
Yeah.
ultimate experience to
Yes.
lose consciousness.
He lost consciousness. Then he came to
He
a
didn't.
few seconds later and, it
And
was
jumped
like-
right back into the movie? Or
I guess so. I wasn't there to witness it, but when the boys do an impersonation of it, it makes
Yeah.
me really laugh.
What age were they at that point?
They were teenagers.
Okay, because that can be an embarrassing thing to.
Oh, he wasn't embarrassed.
Oh, he wasn't.
No, and he didn't need to be embarrassed. He was with his buddies.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
No, I don't think he should have been embarrassed, but I
No,
think
no, no.
young boys, sometimes that could be seen as some kind of like
Yes.
lack of bravery or something.
Correct.
Right?
But in this case, he's very confident. So
Oh,
good.
wonderful.
Good. I like Chase.
Yeah, Chase is great.
One time, Monica and I went to the movies, and I was carrying what was it? I had
An
the very large
enormous
bucket,
popcorn.
the biggest popcorn they sold. I had the biggest Diet Coke they sold, and then I had some kind of sweets. And then I tripped, and you've never seen a fall more spectacular. I threw the bucket of popcorn in the air, and the drink went everywhere, and everything was raining down on me. And I laughed so hard, I then nearly peed my pants because I was just laying on my back, completely covered in everything I just bought. It was the most spectacular, embarrassing.
cartoon.
It looked like a cartoon fall.
That's very
Let's just
good.
say if you were directing it, you would have been like, Dex, that was a 10, and we need maybe like a 3.
You
on
need
this
to
trip.
dial it down a tad.
Yes,
a
just
little.
That
cut
is,
it
by
in
the
half.
way, some of the most humiliating directions you can get when you're in a scene. It's like,
Yes.
oh, that was hilarious. But here, you know what? We need to make it smaller.
Right.
You need to dial it back a little bit. And there's always that feeling of self-loathing in that
Yes.
moment, at least for me.
It's true because going too small is not embarrassing. Like hearing like, oh, you could go bigger with that. For some reason, that's not embarrassing. But the
Yeah.
fact that you've gone too big, there's something really
There's something,
humiliating.
when you just said that, it makes me kind of die on the inside. It is. It's humiliating because you've risked everything and you've made a fool of yourself.
Right.
And you've risked it all with good intention, which is more humiliating.
Yes, but also getting caught being too small has this implicit humility layer to it. Like, oh, this person's so humble
she's
or
so
shy.
natural.
Less is more.
Yeah, right. There's no character flaw in being too small. But being too big, the kind of implicit character flaw is
You're calling too much attention to yourself,
yes, you're a blowhard, you're an egomaniac, you're
which, by the way, is true.
of course it is. No one would be standing there if all that wasn't true.
I can't believe you ever get that note because you're so natural. You're so small, I think.
Get at
Well, yeah, let me
This
just
is the beginning of a lot of
Yeah,
confidence.
yeah,
we're
you're going to
get
hate
in
this.
next
Just
year.
plug your ears for 1 second. I want to say the reason I'm so obsessed with you. Your unique ability is you can go gigantic, and I totally believe it. It's almost impossible. You're doing at times something like SNL level out there, and yet I completely buy it the whole time. It's almost impossible to pull off.
Oh,
That
that's
is
very nice
I
of you
think
to
that's
say.
your
Thank you.
singular thing I'm so blown away with regularly. You're the best ever at it, I
Thank
think,
you.
in my
That's
opinion.
very,
Agree.
very,
Okay.
very nice of you to say.
There'll be more of that, but I
You
mean,
want me to compliment you?
no, I hate it.
no.
All
I
I
like your
want.
tattoo.
Okay, great. That I can accept. Yeah, because it's there and it's
Yeah, I'm noticing it.
objectively kind of cute. It's a bell.
Very nice.
Can we talk about where you come from?
Sure.
Because I think it's a very interesting story. You don't think it is?
I'm happy to talk about it,
No.
but where did I come from? My mom and dad?
Yeah, but Dad is
had-
French. I find that fascinating. Your
Yes.
father's a Frenchman, right?
Yes, he's passed away now, but yes, he was French. He was born in Paris. When he was 7 or 8, he moved to the States.
Right.
But he went back and forth his whole life because he had a very fraught childhood, horrible childhood, parents divorced.
Well, World War
Yeah.
II is in there, right?
And there's that.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's Jewish,
Half Jewish.
half Jewish.
Yeah.
That's enough, I think.
That's plenty.
Yeah, I think
That's plenty for the bad guys,
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
which makes me a quarter. I think also plenty for the bad
Oh,
guys.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Although it wasn't, I mean, the war, yes, but really it was about the craziness in their family. It was very dysfunctional, and his parents had an incredibly acrimonious divorce, lots of fighting.
And at the center of it, right, there's a family business,
Yes.
which is always rife for lots of conflict and family issues, right?
Yeah. So my father, he was educated mainly in the States then, and then went to Duke. That's where he met my mom. My dad went to Duke Law School, and he became a lawyer and was a lawyer for a while, but didn't go into the family business until later, probably when he was 30 or something. I don't know. So he told this story, and he was representing somebody who was being wrongfully accused of stealing a television or something. It's a terrible story. And the guy got sent away to prison. It was just so awful. Anyway, and my dad couldn't take it. It was too crushing, the sadness for him.
Yes.
The social injustice just slayed him.
Well, who in their life finds themselves in a position where someone's freedom is on their shoulders? I'm not ever in that position.
No, nor am I. And it would be very hard. You know, it's easy in our business because you can say, oh, that didn't work out. I didn't get that job, or that didn't, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, well, who cares? It's just showbiz.
Right.
As opposed to if you're representing the life of someone.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Or how about this on the note cards at the end when you're testing your movie? They go, Julia, you got a very low score, and consequently 3 people here have been sent to prison because you didn't do your job very good. That's
And
the
incidentally, all 3 of them are innocent.
yes.
Yeah, oh.
And had you been just a little
Little
bit
bit
more
better. Maybe not quite so broad.
Right. In fact, we've isolated into it was your bigness that sent them away for life. So
Just dial it down.
now, mom and dad, though, they get divorced. You probably no memories for you of them being married, right?
No, none. My earliest memories are just sort of being with my mom.
And so she didn't remarry again until you were 8?
I think they got separated when I was really little, like a baby. And then
Your fault?
totally.
Yeah.
I was too just, needy. The way bad babies can be.
Babies.
By the way, I had a high school boyfriend, and I was at his house once, and this was like the first boyfriend I ever had. And they were asking me about my family, and he said, "When did your parents get divorced?" And I said, "I was really little." He goes, "Oh, so it was your fault," says the father. And I burst into tears.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I've subsequently sort of toughened up, so that
Okay.
you'll notice I didn't cry when you asked me
Wow.
that. But I was a teenager. I was 16 or 17, and so talk about humiliation. Oh my God! And then they served artichokes, and I didn't know how to eat artichokes.
Oh, they're very hard to eat.
Well, I had never actually really had them before,
Right.
and this was a very waspy family, and so all of a sudden this thing that looks like that it would kill you in the desert, and we're supposed to eat it, and I'm like watching everyone, and then the heart, and you've got to cut it. And oh my God, it was
Well, yeah, you're supposed
agonizing.
to eat 4% of it. 4% of the
waste
leaf
of time
until
and
you get to
energies.
that heart.
Oh,
yeah.
come on. Anyway, my mom and my dad, I call him dad too, but he was
Yeah.
my stepdad, but they got married when I was 4.
Oh, okay.
And she married this wonderful man, very smart gentleman, doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been married ever since, 54 years now.
That's incredible. And
That is incredible. What
was-
month is this? Yeah, they'll be married 54 years in July. Can you?
Oh my gosh.
Imagine.
No, I can't. I'm 12 years in.
And you want
And
out,
I
don't
just,
you?
as soon as they record Frozen 3, goodbye. But so this man, he was also the dean of George Washington University
Yes.
Medical School.
He was.
So he's real smart. This is not
He's
like,
real smart. He
Yeah.
was head of the American Board of Medical Examiners, too, for a long time. So he did a lot of really cool stuff.
Now, having never seen a photograph of your mother, but knowing that she landed this kind of suave Frenchman and then a genius doctor, she's a catch, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my mom is a catch.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Do you guys look alike?
A little bit. I'm not as pretty as my mom, but she's really a stunner.
Then I want to meet her. Bad.
So I need to
She's
start
better
calling you
looking.
daddy now.
Yes, I would love it. What a wonderful story if I became your stepfather.
That would be kind of weird.
It would.
I'm getting used to calling you daddy.
Okay, great.
Daddy Dax.
That's right.
Oh, Daddy Dax.
Yes.
Because I called my dads Daddy Will and Daddy Tom.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. I mean, when I'm with them, I call him Daddy. But
good.
But if I'm referring to, well, what did Daddy Will say? What did Daddy Tom say?
Completely understand. I thought
Yeah.
you were saying it to their face, in which case, if my daughters ever end up saying to me, Daddy Dax.
The way that I'm
because
gonna
they
call
have Yes, no, I'll love it from you. From my daughters, all it'll make me very aware of is that there's a Daddy Tom or something, and it's not me. Now, when you moved to D.C. when
Yes.
you were 8,
Yes.
this is a fine time to move. You're in second grade, I guess.
Well, we had been living in Sri Lanka, which was called Ceylon at the time.
Oh, really?
Yes, because my Daddy Tom worked for an organization called Project Hope, which was a medical ship that went to third world countries and taught medical techniques and so on to doctors within those areas.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was a part of that because he was a thoracic surgeon at the time. And so we lived there for a year. And then afterwards, we didn't move back to New York. We moved to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And that's where I spent the rest of my youth. I mean, I came...
But you also went to like Cambodia and you went everywhere,
No,
right?
I didn't go to Cambodia.
Okay. No Vietnam?
No Vietnam.
I'm going to sue Wikipedia when
Wikipedia's
I
wrong.
leave here. Yeah.
Let me explain something to you about Wikipedia. I was just looking at that the other day, and it is wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you, because I'd like to make some changes on my fucking Wikipedia page,
Sure.
but they're not going to listen to me, are they?
Someone wrote that my real name was Daximus Shepard. This is not true. It's just Dax.
Okay.
And so I thought I should try to change that. They won't let me edit that. Even though it's supposed to be open to editing by all people, I'm excluded from editing it. I have no explanation for that.
Who owns
I
Wikipedia?
know. I don't
Actually, who
understand.
does? What, we need to look into that.
I have no idea. It's owned by the People's Republic of China, I think.
We got to get on that. But I did travel to places because I lived in Tunisia and Colombia.
What was it like as a kid going to these places? Did you feel uprooted every time that this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was hard to be away from what I knew.
Yeah.
And I wasn't actually near my dad at that time. So that was also very hard.
And you would have a best friend maybe at that time that you were like, okay, I'll see you in a year. We'll be completely different.
Yeah. And by the way, we're not moving back to New York. We're going to D.C.
Right. We'll pick up when I get to D.C., which will never happen.
Correct.
I find that heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is a little heartbreaking. It was pretty hard. Definitely hard. And by the way, when I travel and I go to hotels and stuff, I very often change hotel rooms. And I think that's because I like to feel like I'm in control. So if this hotel room isn't exactly what I wanted, and by the way, it sounds as if it's like,
Yeah, it needs champaign in every corner of the room.
No, I'm not
that.
talking about that.
It's more of a vibe thing.
Vibe thing. I have to see what other room in another area, this is not right.
Yes.
I like taking control.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Me too, because I had a lot of stepdads. We constantly moved. I had a new bedroom all the time. And then I got obsessive about my bedroom having to stay the same no matter where we went.
Oh,
so
God.
that
Yeah.
thing became consistent, where my bed was, where this little fucking entertainment thing was, and where the nightstand was. I didn't want to feel like we were in a new place. And to this day, I've lived in LA 25 years, 10 of which in a one-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica that I could have left years before I had made enough money to leave there. And I just couldn't get myself to leave there because that was like the longest I had lived somewhere. And now I'm on like 15 years in the same house.
Yeah. So I'm 24 years in the same house, by the way.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yeah. And I keep toying with leaving. But I'm not.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say, though, in defense of my parents, the school system when I was in Sri Lanka was very different. I was in a school and they were very, very ahead with math. And I was in maybe first or second grade then. And the reading was incredibly behind. There was virtually no reading.
Oh, wow.
So what happened was after school, my parents would tutor me. And I have very fond memories of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My mom, we did a lot of these. Reader's Digest was putting out a thing for kids. So we did a lot of reading. And then my stepdad taught me my multiplication tables. He made up a dance and a song.
Uh-huh.
And we would dance around the room singing multiplication tables.
I
And it
really
got me
like
through.
this guy.
Yeah, he was cool.
You got pretty lucky for the stepdad lottery.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Now, did you develop any weird OCD stuff around this period?
No.
I developed a ton of weird tics and
Oh, dear.
rituals, and I had to do everything twice. And I stayed there until I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 15.
That'll do it. Do you still smoke?
No. It's been 14 years.
Was it very hard to quit?
Incredibly hard to quit. Were you ever
bet.
a smoker?
I was.
Yeah.
But not a heavy smoker, but I did smoke.
But enough.
Enough so that it was bad for me.
Sure.
I think any amount.
I think one would be enough.
I have that opinion of you, and I'm trying to think of why I do.
that she
That I
smoked?
smoked?
That she did smoke a
Probably
little
the
bit.
French thing.
I don't know.
Maybe because I give off a cool vibe, and we all know
honestly,
only cool people smoke.
That's
that's
right.
right.
That's
Yeah.
why more.
I wish smoking was good for you because it's an amazing prop.
I couldn't agree more.
I will tell you, my grandmother was a smoker and an alcoholic, and she also wore a perfume called Youth Dew by Estee Lauder. Very strong.
Pungent.
Bold.
Yeah. And the combo of like scotch and cigarettes and perfume sends me into a reverie. I love it so much.
And ambrosia.
I adore it. If I go by somebody smoking on the sidewalk, I will admit that I will inhale as I go.
Oh, you do.
I like the smell. I really do.
Yeah. Now, DC, how was DC to grow up in?
My experience was it was very conservative when I was
Oh, okay.
there. Okay, because I was a little girl there in the 70s, and we're talking Nixon, and it's a very insular town, much the way Los Angeles is to show business, DC is to politics.
It's a
and
company town.
It's very company and conservative. It's a southern place, and I went to a very conservative school.
All girls?
All girls, yeah. Which, by the way, I'm an advocate for. I think that's a great idea. There's a lot of benefit to single-sex education for girls in particular, but this particular school, when I was there, was very conservative.
And the benefit, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like you're allowed to be your true self without any concern of whether you're getting approval or not from boys. There's no that dynamic of like
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say true self, but I would say
truer.
there's more of an opportunity to be assertive and powerful.
Well, right, because girls will downplay how smart they are in public schools,
Totally.
right? They'll downplay how funny they are. Anything that could potentially humiliate
Yes.
the white boy is
Yes.
avoided, right?
I think so to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think girls sort of are demure to, and I mean, women do it. You know, you see it all the time.
Yeah. Now, I wonder, because I have two little girls,
How old are they?
4 and 6.
Oh, that's so nice.
Oh, I know it. There's the most fun, delicious,
Oh, of
yummy.
course.
Although I've been saying this though every age they've been at, but this feels really good,
Yeah, it's only going to get better, FYI.
which is mind blowing.
Yeah, but it's true.
Well, someone pointed out that there's many things that as a guy you don't even consider because you're trapped and locked in your own perspective. But growing up in an elementary school, there's photos all over the top of the classroom, and it's like George Washington and Abe Lincoln, and maybe it's Einstein and it's Isaac Newton. And you're just subconsciously you're absorbing like, oh, everyone important is a man.
Well, not just that, but they're a white man.
They're a white man. So in the all-girls school, were there pictures of women up? I mean, was it?
I don't remember that. I don't remember a lot of talk of female empowerment. This was the 70s.
The only question I have remaining about that is, how do you date if you go to an all-girls school?
We had a boys' school, our brother's school.
How often do you get to commingle, cross-pollinate?
Not a lot.
I would think not, right?
No,
There's a
there
couple
were-
dances a year or
Correct.
something?
There were dances, and then there was a school play. Ding, 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 ding.
School play. That was a mutual school play.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
Were you boy crazy at all or no?
Yes.
You were.
Yes. I mean, looking back on it, I would say yes. I mean, I was kind of obsessive about, certain boys. To my detriment, I think.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In what way?
Do I have to pay you for this session?
It is on the house.
I think I was a little too willing to go along with whatever they wanted.
I got you.
And I wish I had been a little more in tune with my own desires.
That makes sense.
People aren't talking about anything like that when I was in school, or at least at this school they weren't. I mean, we knew how babies were made. There was some sort of sex ed class. Don't ask me, I can't even remember, but very limited. But there was no talk about your own body and how to none of that.
Right. The pill at that point's not very old. There's all these things that are all about to happen or happening
No,
around.
the pill's been around. That was in the 60s.
Oh, it was?
The pill came to pass,
Oh.
yes.
I'm so embarrassed. I thought it was the 70s.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. You can edit that out.
No, we'll
No.
keep it in.
Her favorite thing is to, every time I'm wrong,
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're probably right.
We do a segment at the end of this where I check all the facts. So I'll check, and I hope he's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, anyways, my point being is you are kind of at the vanguard of this transition where women are now actually going to have careers. It's going to be less expected that you're just going to find a mate who's going to provide for you. Like that's all kind of starting to happen.
Yeah, I think maybe so.
You've got like one foot in both sides. Because like my mother was raised, just get a husband. That's priority number one. Even if you get a degree, that's just so that you're a better conversationalist for him.
Right.
Right.
God, is that depressing?
I mean, that's the worst sentence I've ever heard.
I think it's true
I
though,
think
right?
it's probably true, but
Yeah.
God damn it. That's so unhappy making.
But then I think shortly thereafter, it's like you're going to need to support yourself. That became kind of more the mantra in the 80s for kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So at any rate, you found your way to Northwestern.
I did.
Yes, which of all these schools that are fancy, it's the one I seem to be most drawn to.
And for good reason. It's a great place. It's that Midwest thing, man. You can't beat it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's my backyard.
Those are your people.
They're my people.
And I believe in it. I really do. I love that school. Our younger son goes there now, and it's a much better school now than it was when I was there. But even so, I mean, the people that I met there, oh my God, it changed my life completely. There's a effervescence to that place and to the students and the friends that I made that really have just sort of completely changed my life.
Well, when you say earlier that you like stories where someone has basically an epiphany or a revelation or a lens change,
Oh, yeah.
would you say for you that was one of those?
I would say so. Yeah. I did have this feeling when I got there. I felt like I could do anything.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I actually thought those words in my head, but looking back on it, things are shifting.
Uh-huh.
Things are shifting.
Were there people that you were like, oh, wow, the sky's kind of the limit? Like, oh, young women are starting to be comedic forces and it's being embraced.
For me, I was in junior high in high school when SNL first started. And I definitely felt like those were my people.
Right.
I stayed up late on Saturday nights to watch it, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was incredible to watch those early shows. They were pushing against the man.
Yeah, it was very cool and revolty. Yeah.
Very revolty.
Yes,
in the
but
best way.
not revoltine, but revolty for sure.
Yeah, with the Y, man.
With a big capital Y. I think that's part of its staying power. It's just a bit anarchistic. How do I say that word?
It has
Anarchy,
it has an
Anarchistic?
anachronistic.
Anna Karenina?
Anna Karenina?
It's like Anna Karenina.
It's very much like
which
Anna
is a
Karenina.
marvelous work of fiction.
It's my favorite
Me too. I'm so happy
Dostoevsky book.
You brought that up.
Me too. But yeah, there was definitely like a movement behind it. Anyways, it was very, very cool. But you got into comedy while you were at Northwestern, right?
When I went to Northwestern, I went to study acting. So I did a lot of serious work. But then I got into this student-run improv group on campus, which was huge.
But prior to that improv troupe, when you would fantasize about life as an actor, were you imagining more a dramatic, that you would be more of a...
I was just imagining all of it. It wasn't a category.
Right. Because some people discover they're great at comedy, right? They're like Will Arnett was very much going to be a thespian. And then was like, couldn't help but notice, oh, I'm funny. It kind of comes easy to me. And then it just changed in that direction. So like that happens to people for sure.
Yeah, it does. By the way, it's thespian.
Okay, what did I say?
Being, as in lesbian.
Oh, you would love being Monica because I mispronounce 10% of
Everything.
words that I say.
Oh, yeah.
And you should
10
hear
is
me.
Conservative.
Vietnamese is one that I just
What?
Vietnamese. I can't get it. I can't.
He's trying to say Vietnamese, but he just
Yeah.
can't.
I'm going to make you feel better. My whole life said Massachusetts.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
yeah, that's something I would say.
Doesn't it sound right, though?
It does, yeah, Massachusetts.
And it wasn't until I was like in my 40s when my husband said, wait a minute, say that again?
Sure.
And I said, when we go to Massachusetts. And he says, you know that's not how you say it. I said, yes, it is. What are you doing? Make me feel bad about myself.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
That's one of the most common sentences I hear from my wife is, you know you're not saying that, right? As if anyone would know and then choose to just keep going with it. Of course I don't know I'm not saying, well, at this point,
might
yeah, it's kind
double
of got some
down.
comedic value.
Yeah.
Brad, your husband, which, by the way, celebrating your mom is something, but you're at 33 years something?
We will be 32 years married this month. Yeah.
Wow.
That is fucking
Congratulations.
bonkers.
That is crazy.
It is.
And the only thing I don't like about that fact,
I can guess,
go.
is implicit in it is that you're older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like this old lady now.
Yeah. To have been married for 33
That is
years,
really irritating.
you're minimally 35.
I'd rather say like we've been married, 14 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have this thing, grown-ass gentleman with a beard will stop me and go, brother, I fucking watched your movies at Thorough when I was 6 every day. I'm like, oh my God, I was acting while this man was 6? Does that happen to you? Like, oh my God, when I was a little kid, I loved...
Sure.
The time. I remember where were we? What was it, the Golden Globes or something?
Uh-huh.
And Lena got up. She had won.
Oh, sure, Lena Dunham.
And and she's wonderful, of course.
We love her.
Love.
Yeah.
And she thanked me and Tina for being people that she watched.
Uh-huh.
And I remember just
Thank you, but no thank you.
congrats. Go fuck yourself.
I hope you fucking try to eat that Emmy and choke on it and die a painful death. See, I've been working with Sam Elliott for the last year and a half, and I adore him. And I just always find myself like, ooh, but you got to phrase this exactly right. You know, like I want to tell him how macho I thought he was in Roadhouse. But on some level, too, I probably wouldn't have watched Roadhouse if I was 35. It's definitely a movie for a 12-year-old.
Uh-huh.
Just two guys beating everyone up they meet.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, they win for doing that.
Okay.
It just really appeals to a 12-year-old.
Sure.
Anywho,
Boy, 12-year-old boy.
12-year-old boy.
Because FYI, I have not seen this film.
You haven't seen the Patrick Swayze film Roadhouse?
No, sir.
Okay, well, now it works on a totally different level. I really recommend you see it. There is a close-up. He gets out of bed naked, Swayze. He walks across the room to grab his jeans. He's pulling up his jeans, and then we pop into a close-up of his butt cheeks, and he tightens them, and then the jeans go up. What you know for sure is that Swayze decided, guys, are we going close? I know we got this in a wide, but are we going close on my butt cheeks? And tell me when the camera lands, because I'm going to clench them.
Right. And where was the person to come in and say, Patrick, can you dial that down?
Exactly.
By the way, we might be seeing it dialed down.
Oh, I'm sure you're seeing the subtle
The 60%
for your
version.
consideration performance of the butt cheeks. That's amazing. I'm watching the movie.
Okay, thank you so much. And then when you're doing it, another fun thing to look for is he is my favorite day player of all time. His name is John Doe. We notice this guy at one point in the movie, he's shooting a shotgun at a monster truck coming at him. And while he's shooting the shotgun, his leg is bouncing up all the way up and down. And like the scene passes and Nate goes, holy shit, go back. How did we miss this? This guy is kicking his leg every time he shoots the gun. We watch it like 4 times. We're like, this is the biggest choice I've ever seen in a movie. Nate goes, go back to that other scene he was in. So then we rewind further. There's a scene he's just kind of in the background, but he's got a straw and he's put the straw in his mouth and he's winding it around his mouth. And he's in the background. He's doing it just subtle enough that we had never noticed. And then it goes, go back. So we go back to the next scene this guy's in. He's got a wet bar rag and he just throws it at Swayze's face unmotivated. And we realize this guy's making the biggest choices in the whole movie. Who's this guy? We got to find out all of his work and watch all of his work. He's also in Poltergeist. You remember the film Poltergeist?
Of course I do, yeah.
Well, were you able to watch that? Because you don't like your scary movies.
I did, but that was before scary movies became insane. My last film was Silence of the Lambs, and then that was it. I was out.
You called it.
I saw Silence of the Lambs. I almost vomited. I could not bear it. It was so terrifying with that woman in the pit in the house. And oh, Jesus Christ, that was so awful.
It puts lotion on the...
Don't even say that. It's so foul. Then my younger son is, well, all of these kids, they seem to love horror movies. So he saw this movie, Hereditary. He was nuts for it. He said, Mom, it's the best movie. You've got to see it. I said, Charlie, there is no way I'm going to that film. He goes, you've got to. It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
And so I said, okay, look, I'll go because for two reasons. One is I know Toni Collette. She's a friend of mine. We've worked together. So I know she's not really haunted or crazy or a murderer or whatever it is.
Well, you
so
can call her at the end of the film in case she dies and just confirm.
Excuse me, I did text her afterwards because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't real. and then I said to Charlie, look, every time something scary is going to happen, I have to sit next to you, and you just poke my leg.
Right, heads up.
And then I just close my eyes and put my fingers in my ears, and then he would poke me again when it was over. So I missed about 75% of the film.
And what did you think of the film?
I loved every second.
It was a masterpiece, indeed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Do you think you hate these horror movies so much because you're just feeling it so intensely? Like, are you really emotional in general?
Generally speaking, I guess I am. I just don't. I don't like to be scared.
Yeah.
That's not comfortable for me. It's not a comfortable place. I'd rather cry really hard. I can take that.
Yeah.
But there's something about being really frightened of torturers and murderers and things. I can't handle that.
Yeah. Do you like comedies?
Love.
You do?
Of course.
Well, you say of course, though, but I know many comedians, myself included, probably the least amount of stuff I consume. I'm like really into dramas, the serialized TV.
But I guess what I mean is, of course, for really good comedy.
You love really good comedies.
Of course.
Yes.
I love it. But I'm very judgy, too. Or shall we say educated. I've been doing it a while, so.
Well, the analogy I gave to my mother-in-law, who's a nurse, she was getting really mad because Chris and I were watching a reenactment on TV and we were being very critical of the acting that was going on. And she eventually said, you guys are so mean. And I said, well, imagine this. You're watching a program about nurses and the scene is a woman taking blood with a carrot. Would you not laugh because you know how one takes blood? It's not with a carrot. I go, extend us that. Like we know it's probably supposed to be happening.
Right.
Or some realm of what should be
happening. That's a very, very good analogy. Speaking of which, I think I had a nurse who took blood with a carrot.
Oh, you don't really?
I still have a bruise on my hand. It was hurting me last night. That dumb bitch.
Oh, with a carrot. I'm having a panic because I could talk to you for 6 hours.
Well, I'm happy to talk. I don't have to.
Okay,
I do have to go through some pictures in the afternoon, but that's it.
Okay. Photo kills?
Yep.
Let me just explain really quick what it is. So when you're doing something on set as an actor, there's a set photographer who's taking upwards of 25,000 photographs. And then that lands in the studio's hands, and then they want to release some of those for magazines and publicity. So you have a right as an actor to kill some percentage of those shots.
That's a negotiated position.
Right. You're right. Some people don't even get to kill them, and then it's a sliding scale of how many you can kill. Well, they don't do any editing before they send it to you. They just send you 25,000 photographs, and many of them are, in my case, like a fucking gargoyle getting electrocuted.
Yes. Well, and for me now, because I've been doing this for so many years, try watching yourself age over that process.
Right.
That is intense.
Uh-huh.
It's like all of a sudden, oh shit, I got this jowl thing starting. I know I can see where I'm headed 15 years from now. It's bad. Motherfuckers, it's bad.
Uh-huh.
And I can't believe it. I mean, it's so self-obsessive, of course, but you're watching this happen sort of almost as a viewer. It's weird, but it's you.
Well, look, sure, it's self-obsessive, but I don't think there's anyone who's not self-obsessive about how they look. I think we all, in general, all humans have a hard time acknowledging really how old we are. Like recognizing like, oh, wow, we're here.
Can I ask you how old you are?
44.
44 is my favorite number. It was my whole life when I was a kid. I love the number 44.
4 is my favorite number.
Oh, it is?
It is. Because of the OCD stuff. It's the ultimately even thing.
So you must be so happy to be 44.
Yeah.
I'm delighted, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm not making a joke.
I am in that sense, yes.
No, you as you get older, you can't believe it's happening to you, which is so absurd because if you're lucky, it does.
Yeah.
But you are astonished that it is happening to you. Astonished.
Largely the reason is I feel like I'm 12 years old.
Right. Well, I don't feel like I'm 12, but I do feel like I'm probably in my mind, like in my 20s, slightly smarter version of myself in my 20s.
Yes,
That's how I feel.
indeed. But I kept waiting for some seismic shift of feeling older, and it's just not happening. Seemingly it's not. You know, I'm not waking up going like, I feel mentally older. And so this exterior matches what my interior feels like.
Yeah, I don't feel that way.
There's a lot of incongruity for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case for most people.
It's really hard to wrap your head around.
It is.
Yeah.
And yet here it is so basic.
Yes. And then, of course, from my perspective, you're still a 10.
A 10?
You're a 10.
Oh, please.
Listen, Julia, my wife dies and Brad gets lost overseas.
Yeah.
I'm going to immediately try to marry you.
But you're her dad, too. How are you going to be her dad?
It's
and
cool. We
marry
dig
her?
incest in this
Okay.
relationship. We're into it.
Don't try
We-
to put
we
your
do have-
conventional boundaries on.
We do have one issue, and it's called that goddamn tattoo on your finger.
Well, I have a solution. You already have 20 fucking names.
Yeah.
We just pop Belle somewhere in there.
Oh, genius.
Fix.
And then we're good to go.
Yeah.
You really do have, what, 6 names?
Julia Louis Bell.
Scarlett, Elizabeth.
You know what? It's
What?
not Elizabeth. And thank you, Wikipedia.
Oh, Wikipedia. Ugh.
It's E. It's Julia Scarlet E or E Scarlet. That's the truth.
You don't even
really
know,
I
right.
don't. Louis-Dreyfus Hall, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay.
really a hall now.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's exhausting. It's very hard.
You meet Brad, though, in this improv group. And
No, he wasn't in the improv group, but yeah, I met him through people in the improv
did he
group.
start?
Whole interview is
I know.
is-
She was
It's fine, but I mean, it's minor. It doesn't matter. I should have just said yes.
No.
Yes.
Correct us. We're all about corrections here.
This is definitely the most error-laden one I've ever had. Wouldn't you agree?
Error.
Error-laden.
Error. Yeah,
As opposed to error.
that's what I heard. Add
It is-
to the list of things you say incorrectly.
It is air-laden, though, as well. Wouldn't you agree? AC's
No,
on. There's
there's-
plenty of air.
No, it's all good.
Okay. So whatever. Brad's not even in the picture. You meet him at Northwestern, though. We can agree on that.
We definitely did.
And then you did get SNL from
Doing a show in Chicago with his theater company. Brad and his buddy, Paul Barras, started a theater company in Chicago called Practical Theater Company. It was a really big success. And we were doing a show, and the producers from SNL came and saw the show, and off we went. We were hired.
that is bonkers,
Wow.
right?
Bonkers. I was 21.
And no audition, just from the show.
Correct.
You love the show, as we talked about. So you know
Yes.
the level of it. Not only is there a level, but then there's also in your own mind what you think those people are.
Yes.
Were you at all like, oh no, I'm a fraud. There's no way.
No.
Oh, good.
No, I didn't panic. I was just out of my mind. Yeah, I'm doing it. I mean, it's like, I was like, we're going. We are going. Yeah.
And-
Once I got there, and then I saw what this was about, that was a different deal. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't a stand-up. I didn't have a bag of characters that I could pull from. I was just a really happy ensemble improv player
Right.
and an actor. And when I got to SNL, it was a different set of producers producing. It was Dick Ebersol. Lauren was
Lauren's
not there.
gone.
Yeah. So it was a different time. Although there were some great performances then, you know, Eddie Murphy was there and later Billy Crystal and Marty Short were there and stuff. But the culture there was not female friendly. It was very druggy, but I was incredibly naive and I didn't realize that it was druggy.
Okay.
I just thought everybody was super jazzed,
Sure, excited.
laughing really hard at jokes that I wasn't getting,
Right.
And I was very, very naive. I did not come in sort of armed for the situation at all. But I learned as I went. I mean, it was real trial by fire, and I kind of failed in a lot of ways, but there was a lot to be gained from that failure.
Right.
A lot.
When you went on the stage, which you had stared at on TV a bazillion times.
Yeah.
I've never performed on that stage, but I've gone to shows there. And just looking at it for me is really the most iconic set for me in the world.
Yes, it's very iconic now. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you feel when you walked out there like, oh, wow.
Well, the first sketch I was in, Chevy was in it remotely playing the shark. And I just couldn't believe it. It was just, it was heady. It was otherworldly. I was sort of floating above it as it was happening.
Right.
It was very hard to digest. And it became harder to digest when it became clear that this wasn't what I thought it was.
Right.
So that was very tricky. But looking back on it, it's totally informed my life in a million ways. And I had the great pleasure of going back to host a couple times, and that was amazing because that's like getting to redo your high school or something. Experience or something. And I just knew it's the same. I mean, it is the same schedule. I knew what to expect. I knew what I needed to do as a host to make sure that I was covered. I knew a lot going into it that I had learned from being there for 3 years.
Yeah. And Brad wrote there, right?
Yeah, Brad was there for 2 years and I was there for 3. Brad was doing the news.
He did Weekend Update.
He did Weekend Update, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a very tall gentleman.
Yes.
Yes, and a handsome gentleman.
Very.
Were you immediately in love with him when you met him?
Almost immediately. I remember seeing him having an argument with his girlfriend. And as I was walking by, we kind of knew each other through friends. He looked at me and he goes, "We're having a huge fight." And I thought, that guy's interesting. And then shortly thereafter, I definitely fell deep for that guy.
What was his experience on SNL? Was it better than yours?
No. It was the same. Although he had more success there than I had, but it was very, very tough time.
Because it could have been really hard if he was having the time of his life and you were having a hard time finding your footing.
I mean, it was hard. He was getting more airtime and stuff like that. But that part of it was not hard for me. I mean, that wasn't like I didn't feel resentful or anything of that fact. It was just all so complicated. And then Larry David was there.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He wrote for 1 year there, right?
Yes. So the year that Brad was not there, Larry was there that year. And Larry was miserable. And so we sort of bonded from that. That's how I met him.
Yeah. And you guys immediately got along.
Well, yeah, because he was a big complainer. And I liked that.
Yeah.
There's a kind of complaining negative person that I really love. I guess complaining negative is too sort of broad a description. Sometimes I think people who are negative are very intelligent. So let's just put it that way.
Yes.
I mean, I think Larry's real intelligent.
Yeah, like cynical.
Cynical. Thank you. There we go. Cynical. There's our word.
Yeah.
Sarcastic and cynical.
That I really enjoy.
That is just yums.
Yes, but just unbridled bitching all the time.
No,
I find
that's exhausting.
I'm less and less tolerant of it
Completely.
as I get
I couldn't
older.
agree with you more, yeah.
You dropped out of Northwestern, too, to go be on SNL, right?
Yeah.
Did that scare you at all? No.
Not at all.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Okay. Let's
great attitude.
Let's light this fucker on
No.
fire.
I mean, I was like, I got a job in show business.
Yeah.
This is what I want. Yeah.
The job in show business, really.
Yeah. Or so we thought.
Yeah, exactly.
When I left SNL, I stayed in New York for a year, tried to get work as an actor. That wasn't working. I mean, I just wasn't getting them. And then I came out here to Los Angeles for a pilot season, and I did a pilot. I got a job. It was a spinoff of Family Ties, and didn't get picked up, but I made money, so that was kind of cool.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It was like, ooh, I got a little job. So I moved out here, and then I was trying to get work out here, and then I started to get jobs, but it was pounding pavement. Warner Brothers wanted to make a deal with me, an overall deal. Amazing. It felt so huge for me to develop a show for myself.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I was like 28 years old or 29 or something, maybe 28. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we started working on a script, and the script came in, and I didn't really love the script. Okay. It didn't feel right. I remember calling my agent then, and I said, this isn't it. I got to get out of this deal. This doesn't feel good anymore. And I had a legal out. If I didn't like the material, I could get out.
Yeah.
So I did. And then about 4 days later, I was sent 2 out of the first 4 Seinfeld Chronicle
Wow.
things.
Oh my gosh.
So I read them, and Lara's written them, and I was like, yeah, it's really a different vibe from anything else that's on TV. And, you know, I didn't have much of a part.
Well, you weren't even in the pilot, correct?
I was not in the pilot. So NBC picked it up for 4 episodes as a real vote of confidence. And so that, yeah, this looks interesting, blah, 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 blah. So I meet with Larry, meet Jerry, you know, long story short, make a deal. The next thing I know, I get a call from my attorney who says, Warner Brothers is threatening to sue you.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And I was like, what? Why? And I said, because you, took the other job and you knew what you were doing. And I said, no, but I didn't. This was all in the up and up. I didn't know that was coming my way.
Yeah.
And he said, well, they want their money back. And it was a lot of money. It was $75,000, which was a lot
Right.
fucking money.
This was a holding deal you had?
Yeah, development deal.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
right,
or
right.
a holding or whatever. And it's still a lot of money today.
Yes.
And so I was like, but if I give it back, that's going to imply I did something illegal, and I didn't.
Right.
And I was advised to give it back. And I said, but that doesn't sit right with me. And so I called my friend Gary David Goldberg. He's the genius and the writer-creator behind Family Ties and Spin City. And so he's subsequently passed away. God bless him. But he was a mentor of mine. And I explained to him the situation, and he said to me, you know, I don't respond well to bullying. Said, tell them to fuck off. And so I did. And they went away. They never came back after me. But I was scared because it was a big studio and I was a nothing.
So you get the show. One thing I want to say, Monica and I both love coffee and cars with comedians, or comedians and cars getting coffee, whatever it is. We particularly loved your episode because we were both like, they have some kind of very special, nice bond. Just upon the greeting, I'm like, oh, he lights her up in a very fun way, and she's in a zone that's very fun.
It felt kind of soulmatey.
You felt very
Yeah.
soulmatey when we watched it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It was really cool to observe it. We've only seen you guys as
Acting,
these 2 characters. And just the greeting on the porch, I'm like, oh, they had a very special 9-year thing, which was probably so wonderful.
It was.
It was.
It was.
And did it start immediately like that, or was it something that
Yes.
evolved? It did.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. The first time we met, and he was eating cereal, and then we read a scene together on a couch like this. And it just felt natural.
Right.
And also, it felt like, the kids are in charge. Because it was just like Larry, my curmudgeon friend, this kid in sneakers eating cereal. Okay, yeah. And they think it's funny, and it doesn't feel like normal sitcom. It isn't set up, joke, set up, joke, set up, joke. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
The story's tiny, you know.
I think I want to say I heard Jerry on Stern talking about that, as this is almost everyone's story that I know, is that he really wishes he would have been able to enjoy the process a bit more. Like now, of course, looking back on it, it's a very special part of his life. But at the time, it is work as well.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. Were you able to enjoy it?
I mean, yes. I was able to enjoy the playing of it. Yes. There was a lot of enjoyment. I mean, Jerry may have been sort of in the moment forgetting that there was tremendous enjoyment because otherwise the show never would have worked. I mean, you saw us having a good time, and that was on screen. And sometimes you even see him laughing at his own show. I mean,
yes.
Jerry will be the first to admit that he is not an actor at all.
Right,
So
right.
you can see that guy howling at performances. You see it in his eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was a lot of work to write, and it was a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to be on a show year after year after year, particularly when it's your show, as Seinfeld was for him. But also speaking for myself, I had 2 kids during this time, so I was like 1 foot in that door and 1 foot in that door, and I was straddling the whole time.
Yes.
That was hard. I mean, your wife is doing that right now, isn't she?
Yeah, well, she doesn't see her kids ever. She's a
That's
very
not
bad mom. No, she's a wonderful mom, and yes, she's straddling it. Yeah. So I have to imagine being on Seinfeld had to be overwhelming in many ways, being out in the real world with 2 kids and wanting privacy, and that aspect of it had to be pretty enormous.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, first of all, I think Seinfeld became even more popular after it was off the air.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was popular. I don't mean to take away from it, but I think that once it was gone, it's revered in a way that maybe it wasn't at the time, But it certainly was popular. I don't mean to say it's not. But also, this is going to sound boring, but I mean, I would go to work and we would work, and then I brought the kids to work with me, and I would take the kids and we would go home, and, it was like dinner and bath, and we got
You weren't moving throughout the greater world.
I wasn't. So there was sort of like on the final episode of Seinfeld, I remember they put these barricades up because there were people on the street that were trying to, with cameras and telephoto lenses, trying to get pictures of who is going to be on the show walking into the set. And I just remember thinking, who gives a shit? What is going on here? It's just, it was very important to me, of course, and I understood that the value of the final episode, but there was a feeling to it that to a certain extent, I think I was a little bit unaware of. That makes me sound like a real idiot, but I mean, to a certain extent, I was. But I remember once I was in the market with Henry. He was a little boy. He's probably 4. And I was on the cover of some magazine. I don't know what it was. And we're going up to the register.
Probably Popular Mechanics.
Something like that, or Scientific American. And we're going up to the register. Henry sees it. And at that time, he was watching a lot of Tex Avery cartoons, of course. And he looks at it and he goes, "Mom, look, you're a star, Mom, you're a star." And he yelled it in Gelson's. And I just remember saying, Hen. I couldn't get out of there quick enough.
Yeah, that's rough.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
I think I'm overly concerned, having come from a ruralish area of Michigan where the richest person in town was rich because they had a swimming pool. I'm overly concerned about my kids growing up here.
You should be.
Yeah. With 2 parents who people know, and they have a swimming pool. Did you have the same fear? And what things did you do to prevent them from turning into pieces of shit?
Yes, I did have the same fear. And I don't know that I thought it through like that. I mean, in other words, what can we do to prevent? Mm-hmm. But it was a question of being present in their lives, and they see how we live. We don't have the fanciest house. Believe me, I am a materialistic person. Let's not kid ourselves. But there's a kind of materialism that we don't embrace within our little family. We're just cognizant of that. There are certain conversations that we have had about, I don't know, values and giving back and all that kind of stuff that I think has helped inform them. I don't know. Maybe both of my children are awful people, but I don't think that they are.
I doubt that they are.
They're not. They're good people.
You could live in a spectacular place. So just the choice to live, quotes, modestly for LA, quotes, I think probably does say more than anything you could be lecturing them. Like I have friends who, they have 22-bedroom houses and they're like trying to impart on the kids some wisdom about it, but the actions are speaking way louder than the words.
Right.
It's like,
My husband came from, his dad was a minister. Did not have a lot of money growing up at all. And I grew up with my mom and my stepdad, and we were very comfortable middle class, right? So you take that with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take that with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, but you do.
Growing up, the rich people were assholes.
Right.
The worst.
But by the way, they usually are.
They often are.
Yeah, they often are.
And then, so I live in this weird zone of like trying to never lie to my kids, yet I have this chip on my shoulder, this class warfare chip on my shoulder. Yet I also could be defined by most people as rich. So that's a very complicated thing for me.
Yeah.
I just think I find it to be a lot to navigate.
It is a lot to navigate. It is. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult. But I mean, parenting is hard. If you didn't have means, then it would be another kind of conversation.
Yes.
I mean,
well, I read once in a Malcolm Gladwell book, I found this fascinating, that, we know the number, I've forgotten it, but people's lives do get better to a certain amount of money, then it plateaus for a while, and then it goes down. And the number is much lower than you would think. I forget what it was. It was
like
78,000 or
Yeah,
something.
but then I think it was updated to one something, but low ones.
because I know somebody who came into a shit ton of money,
Okay.
like millions and millions and millions. Mm-hmm. And he said to me that all he did was worry about it.
Uh-huh.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping it safe. How to keep it safe.
Yes. One of my biggest hangups definitely is money.
Okay, so that means that you would go to the opening of a mall if they pay you? Is that what you're talking about?
No. The annoying part is I'm aware enough to recognize it's a total illusion. Secondly, it didn't cure all of my existential crises that I thought it would. I don't look in the mirror and fucking high five myself. It didn't come with any of the fantasy I had about having money.
You don't go like,
Money. No, I don't.
you don't.
And I know I don't. And yet I'm still think
I need
it
more.
wouldn't be bad to have $1 billion just so I can shut that part of my brain off. And then also
You're
smart
headed
enough,
to $1 billion?
whatever the number is. No. I'm just saying, I tell
Well,
myself.
you say no. But if I give you $1 billion to come to that mall, I sense you're coming now.
I will live in the mall for a year or two for $1 billion, and then I hope the mall then bears my name when I leave, the Dax Shepard Mall of Americas. So even with all that awareness, I still do have this illusion that I will feel safe with a certain amount of money, and yet I know it's all a fairy tale, and that I will just have to decide at some point that I feel safe, which, by the way, I've gotten much better at, and I'm approaching that. Do you have a weird journey with money?
Maybe, but then I got breast cancer.
Right. And what did that do?
Well, everything falls off. Everything. And, talk about a lens changer.
Yeah.
So everything gets distilled. Well, panic, fear, true fear.
Yeah.
Not hereditary fear, the movie, but true fear.
Right.
And then everything that is precious becomes clear. And money is not in that category.
Right.
I mean, it's really not.
Right.
Except to say that you need it maybe to fight. That's my little money lecture.
Did you have breast cancer in your family? Did you have any sense that this could happen to you?
No.
It had never been on your radar.
Never.
And you're having a routine mammogram or something?
No, I just noticed something in my breast, a little sort of slight divot. I was like, what the hell is that? That's so weird.
Uh-huh.
Brad's like, you slept on it funny or something. Yeah, I guess so. That's
Right.
weird.
And then you went and got it checked, and then you...
And then the shit hit the fan, man. It was really fast and furious. Yeah.
You had to stop shooting, obviously, right?
We hadn't started shooting yet. We had to delay. This was September. We were meant to start shooting in October, I believe. And in fact, it was it was the weekend of the Emmys, and it was Sunday night, and Friday I went in and they biopsied it, and my doctor said, I think you should prepare for bad news. And I was like, what? And then we had the Emmys. You have to go to all those parties. I don't remember any of it.
Or I bet not.
No, I was just on autopilot. And then And then that night we won. The show won. It was all very exciting, and I won, and, that was so exciting. And then the next morning I got the call that it was, in fact, cancer.
Uh-huh.
And I will admit to you, I started howling, laughing.
You did.
I did.
Because of the juxtaposition of the
Correct.
night before in the morning.
Yeah.
It is pretty funny.
It is. It's hilarious.
It is.
It's like you got a trophy in one hand and a cancer
and then shit on
diagnosis
your
in
head.
it. Yeah.
Yes,
It was
yes.
incredible.
Or like Carrie, like they dump blood on you while you're holding the
Completely. It's like Carrie.
When my dad had cancer and I would take him to chemo, I was expecting to see a bunch of 90-year-old men with blankets wrapped around their legs. He was the only man in there. It's all women, and it was all young women. And I was like, oh my God. It was a real eye-opener for me about how many women are dealing with breast cancer. To your point, I think you announced it on Twitter saying 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, and I'm the one.
Right. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of women. Men get breast cancer.
Uh-huh.
And cancer is a big business, man.
But
that's the thing that I was so struck by when I walked into this building. I was like, wow, this cancer thing, they've got a, they're onto something here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a booming business.
It is.
Which sounds nasty the way I'm saying it, but it really did, like, Jesus Christ, look what's going on here.
It is true. And then there was also a very disturbing 60-minute segment I watched about that the oncologists get a percentage of the drugs that they sell.
Well, certain oncologists.
Certain
do.
oncologists. It seems a little troubling to me.
Yeah, that's a little unethical.
Yeah, it sounds a little...
I'd say more than a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how old was your dad when he died?
62.
Oh, young.
Uh-huh.
So was this a long time ago?
2012.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then my stepdad last year of prostate cancer.
Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy to be with a parent dying, isn't it? I did that with my dad, and that was, he didn't die of cancer, but he died of congestive heart failure, ultimately, and everything, sort of falls off from that. But it's really wild.
Was your experience positive or negative?
Both. I read this great book, which you might have read, called Being Mortal by Atul Gawande.
Just yesterday, I was told to have him on.
I hope you do have him on.
Yeah.
I hope you do. I want to meet him. The book is fascinating, and it was a really good guide for me because I was my dad's healthcare proxy. So there was a lot of, I was back and forth to New York a gazillion times at the end of his life. And there's a way of talking about death and the experience of dying, and it's a book that explores those ideas. And by the way, I'm not a self-help book kind of person at all, but this is not really that. It's really about talking about dying and the experience of dying in a way that nobody in this culture really does. And so that was very helpful to me. And I just remember being on the plane and making notes to myself and things that I was going to talk to my dad about. And then I would try to, and he would just kind of shut it down.
He would, yeah.
But even that experience was useful to me, for me.
Yeah.
And to see, okay, so this is who he is. This is clear. And I love him regardless.
Isn't it, like, for me, one of those elements was I've been trying to change him his whole life. And then when it gets to the end, I finally realized, like, oh, you didn't do it and you're never going to do it. I finally had to give up, like, oh, no, it's not happening in your lifetime. He's on his way out and he's still this exact person.
Right, exactly. There's no point in pushing against that anymore.
No.
That's the story. This is now how it's going to be.
Yes.
So that's the story. There's a lot to be said for forgiveness because it's a good relief for you.
It's for you.
So it's nice to be able to get to a place where you can say, okay, it's okay. I.e., your behavior, even though I don't agree with it, I don't subscribe to it, but that's who you are. And I completely can get beyond that now.
Yes. I was caught in the same trap most people are with their parents, which is I never saw him as a human being. He was my dad, and he fell short of my expectations of being a dad. Period. He was not his independent person. He was only on this planet in the role of my dad, and he underdelivered. And there were a few moments where he was very vulnerable and very scared, where I was like, oh no, that's a 12-year-old boy who's really scared. You just happen to be in his life, but here's a real person who really is scared. And that was bizarrely helpful for me shattering that paradigm of like, he's my dad, he's supposed to be this thing for me. I guess just my own narcissistic, self-centered view of him. I kind of uncoupled a bit.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm like,
growing up.
Yeah. Oh, the last thing about the resentments thing is, we have a saying in AA, which is having resentments is like drinking poison, hoping your enemy dies.
It's true.
You're
That's
the
great.
only one carrying those things. The person you're mad at
Really.
isn't thinking about them when they go to sleep. You
no,
are.
sir. No.
Brad, it takes a very special person, I think. It's a unique man who can have a wife who is so successful and so universally loved. I speak from experience.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. So I definitely chose the right guy. He's a really steadfast, strong, confident, morally centered person.
Is he born that way?
Yeah.
He was?
Yeah. He was born that way. He was raised well. I'm not suggesting it's always easy, but we sort of together, we've been bound to one another and we just carry on.
Yeah.
And takes pride in my success.
He does.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Without him in my life and my children, you can forget about it in terms of the trajectory of my life. Forget it. Because I think ultimately this is all very important to me, my career and being an actor, but it hasn't been the most important to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's made it work.
Yeah.
And so I had a really solid place to be without it. And that has just freed me up.
Yeah. My wife will sometimes say that to me, and it makes me very happy that she's like, oh, no, I can only go be untethered and do that because I am tethered to this foundation that's
totally.
here.
Oh, yeah.
If I didn't have this when I came home, I don't know that I could feel safe to do that there.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Certainly in my life.
Now, Veep, were you ever scared about how bold it was? Or did you have total conviction about it? Because I watch the show regularly going, oh my God, they can do that. Oh my God, they did that. Oh, they're doing it. It's so exciting from a comedy writing perspective, how unbelievably fearless the show is.
Yeah, there is some trepidation going in for sure. And by the way, you're seeing a reduced version of it. I mean, you know, these shows are double the length. And so by the time you see them, they're...
Yeah, so you've most certainly said in an episode something you're like, oh, well, if this makes the final cut, this might be a wrap on everything, yeah? I mean, because you're going beyond the line.
Yeah, we have to. We've
Right.
got to push the envelope to find our way. So it's been scary. And after 4 years, we changed showrunners, and that was scary. There's been a lot of like jumping off of cliffs making this show, but I've really enjoyed it.
Is it the thing you're most proud of work-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so impressive.
Incredible. It's so good.
Thank you. I love it so much.
It really is. And really, you can't underestimate what percentage of that is you, in my opinion. Just the fact that you can anchor a show as the lead whose story we're following and we care about, and yet be sociopathic at times, or just, you know, the character you're playing. Yeah. By the way, I think this is a gift my wife has, and I always tell her when I want to flatter her the most that I think you guys having a very similar thing, which even if she's the bad guy, Kristen, you're like, I'm kind of rooting for her. I kind of like her.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a really unique gift to have. Where, you know, in fact, it's a role generally only reserved for men, where men get to be Breaking Bad or, you know, an anti-hero.
Yeah.
You're in a weird way a comedic anti-hero.
Oh, good.
And you're pulling it off. And women are supposed to be likable and not this and not that.
I'm not a fan of likability.
Yeah.
I mean, I am as a human being, but as a viewer or as an actor, I think likability is highly overrated. But I really think that fundamentally what it is that you can identify with, in terms of the character of Selena Meyer, with her desire or motivation, you know, and identify with her frustration. It's very valid, her frustration. She may be nuts, and she is nuts. But her frustration and what she's up against is very understandable.
Yes.
In my view. people are pushing her back down, and she's a woman who hasn't been given, in her mind, a fair shake. Actually, she hasn't been given a fair shake. You know, she also has a lot of opportunity. She's a woman of affluence, et cetera, et cetera. However, she's still a woman, and that sucks too in the world of politics.
Were you happy with the ending?
I love the ending.
Yeah, I thought it was so poignant, calling for Gary.
Yeah, I loved it. I was as proud of that episode as all of them, actually. It might be my favorite. It really summed it all up for me perfectly. And I think it kind of had in a weird way, kind of a hopeful end.
Mm-hmm.
And do you take some pride in the fact that, like, it's by far the best cast ever of comedians?
I take great pride in that fact.
The bench is so absurdly deep on that show.
It's outrageous. We have had great casting directors over the years, and luckily great actors coming in and sort of delivering, and lots of actors you've never met before who just sort of killed it. And I don't know, we've lucked out in that department. And so there's a focus for sure on doing good work, but there's a huge amount of joy that drives that focus.
Yeah. Okay, you've changed my life. Rarely does a movie change your behavior going forward for the rest of your life. And I want you to know that every time we've ever received a massage at our residence,
you carry the table.
I carry the table.
Good for you.
And I generally have to fight them to do so. Sometimes they probably walk away offended, like I'm a chauvinist. I don't think they can carry their table. But I will say, after seeing enough said, I was like, man, I've been there. I've watched someone lug a big table. And I thought, this is preposterous. I'm 6'3". I should be carrying that table.
Yeah.
And now I just do. I insist and I
Good.
carry that
I'm so
table.
glad you have those nice manners.
Yes. What a wonderful movie. I loved that movie so much. Enough
Yeah,
said.
it was so great to make that movie.
And Gandolfini was just beautiful to be around.
Oh, yeah, he really was. But surprisingly not confident.
Really?
Yes.
That is shocking.
Yeah.
If I had
That's sort of really endearing, too. Someone who's so fantastically good.
Well, you know how he was in the movie? That was sort of close to who he was as a person.
Wow.
Yeah, sort of a soft guy.
a sweetheart, a
A
tender,
sweetheart. Yeah. Bless him.
Yeah.
Bless him. With you know, I think he was sort of embarrassed to be an actor.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think he...
Some men have that, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Presumably women have it too, but I certainly know men who feel like it's a weird, like it's not a masculine endeavor.
Exactly. I think there was an element of that.
Can I tell you a theory I have? What has the cumulative feedback been about your finale? People like it?
Yeah, it's been very positive, which I'm really happy about. But even if it hadn't been, I still would have wrapped my arms around it. That's how much I liked it. But
right.
It's been very positive.
Okay, so I have a theory that I just launched a couple weeks ago because of the Game of Thrones finale. Do you watch Game of Thrones? Too scary?
I do not.
You do not. Okay. Well, you know, a lot of people had some negative stuff to say about the finale, and I was thinking about it, and I want to ask them, like, well, what did you want to happen? Like, you didn't like what happened. What did you want to happen? And people were like, I don't know, I guess. But what you would quickly come to find out is there was nothing they specifically wanted to happen. What I think happens and people don't recognize is they're just mourning the loss of this thing they loved for years, and it's going away. It's a breakup. So there's no version of a breakup that you're going to love. You know, very rare where you go like, oh, it's a perfect breakup. And I just think in general, like, it's just very sad to have loved something for 8 years and to know that you'll not ever enjoy a new thing.
Maybe so.
It's very hard to like the end of something you love.
Maybe so.
Yeah, it's just positioned to not work. But we loved the ending of Veep, so you have
So
us.
maybe it wasn't that good a show after all.
Yeah, I guess that's what we figured
That's
out.
what it means, yeah. Yeah.
That's a big takeaway, folks.
Well, Julia, I'm so flattered that you came.
Thank you.
I adore you. Do you remember meeting me in Jackson Hole?
Of course.
You do?
Yeah, we were in that restaurant.
That cute restaurant that has really good chopped salads. I don't remember that as being one of my best interactions because, again, the stakes were so high for me because I was so excited to tell you how much I love you.
Don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong or ill-timed. I just remember because your wife, Kristen, was there,
Of
and
course.
my boys were young. But I just remember either Charlie or Henry knew Kristen from, I don't,
Sarah Marshall,
Marshall,
probably. Yeah.
and they were like, oh my God. It was one of those things. It was one of those things of them meeting somebody famous and flipping out.
Right.
That's what I remember is like, guys, cool it. Everyone calm down.
And that's what he was doing to you. It was
That's
all
right.
happening.
It was a big
Guys.
circular
Circle of
adoration cycle.
Kind of weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we play father, stepdaughter, and stepfather?
Yes.
Okay.
We're
Should I
gonna do
call? Who
that.
do I call?
Stepdad/lover.
That's right. Yes.
But do you remember that movie that Jeremy Irons, he was in that movie and it starts with a D, but I forgot the name of it. And he fucks his son's wife. It's extraordinary. And his son, do you want me to tell you this moment?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good movie. At
I'm
least
gonna
that's
watch
my
it.
memory.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I shouldn't tell you because it's
Okay,
an
it's got a-
astounding moment.
Okay.
Of when something happens. You can't even believe it.
Okay, then don't tell me we're gonna
We'll
watch
watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll watch Vampire
No, I'm not
Left-
watching I'm not
whatever.
watching the vampire one.
and
You'd like it. It's-
Roadhouse too.
I am going to watch Roadhouse.
Promise you'll love the movie.
I'm actually really looking forward to that.
It's amazing.
Okay, I definitely will.
Roadhouse.
I can't-
All right. I love
you guys, thank you. That was super fun.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Before we commence this fact check, hold on one second.
Oh wow.
Yep. Please hold. Boom.
Oh
Boom. Ooh, did it change my voice?
yeah, I think it did.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think you just changed.
No, I
your
swear,
voice.
I swear I didn't do anything. I'm going to take it off.
Okay, well, tell people what it is.
Okay, my friend Dave Castillo invented, well, I think with he and his sister and their dad, invented this thing called intake breathing.
Okay.
And think of a breathies at night that people wear, those little strips. You know, I got nothing against breathies.
No.
But they're not,
They could sponsor us.
it's not substantial. So what's happening here is I have two little stickies on either side of my nostrils. And inside the stickies is a little piece of magnet. Oh. Okay. Or maybe it's just metal. And then the bridge, this plastic piece, I then stick over my nose. Listen, maybe you can hear it snap. I hope this doesn't trigger misophonia.
Okay.
Did you kind of hear
It's
it?
a little lackluster.
At any rate,
but-
here's what goes on. You pop this on your nose. It spreads your nostrils. See how big my nostrils are right now?
they're expanded. Yeah.
Kind of like that photograph I was telling you about when I parachuted for teen people.
Oh,
and I look like Porky the Pig. It was a big disaster. Well, this is doing it for me without having to take on the risk of skydiving. But what's happening, Monica, is it's
Okay.
spreading my nostrils, and then I can breathe way better through my nose. And do you know, breathing through your nose is much healthier because your nose is making nitric oxide. And your blood needs that to transport energy around and oxygen. So it's great for working out. I have it on still because I worked out with it today.
Okay. You've just been keeping it on.
Well, and then I sat down and I thought, let's elevate my oxygen levels here during the fact check.
Sure. I have a few questions about
Yeah,
it.
please.
One,
Yeah.
did a bunch of boogers fall out when you first?
No.
Okay, so that's not a hazard.
No. Well, I suppose if you have a tremendous amount of boogers,
You
they
could, you
could
know.
shake some loose
Yeah.
when those magnets pop in.
Secondly, since they're open, do you kind of feel like you want to put your fingers up there? Because
Let me see.
it seems like you.
Oh my
do want
goodness,
to.
way easier to put my finger in there as if it were hard anyways. They're so elastic, my nostrils. Can't speak highly enough. You know what I did is I donated to the Kickstarter,
Wow.
which is very rare for me.
I don't think you've ever done that.
Out of bounds. No, I think I gave a couple bucks for the Ron Mars movie. Yeah. Anywho's, I went for the max too. I went ahead and I
Wow.
kickstarted. Is that what you say?
Yeah. Well, you have put your finger in your nose quite a bit since it's been on. So I think that's something that comes with it.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think any among us don't clean out the nostrils.
No,
You're
sure.
supposed to.
Yeah.
You don't want to just let it get impacted in there and then have to have a surgical procedure.
Definitely not.
All right, I'm going to proceed now. And I'm going to be a lot more alert during this one.
Okay.
All right. Not to challenge you.
So are you going to walk around like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you think it's a cool look? I kind of think I look, you know, when football players put the little bit of black under their eyes
Yeah, I don't.
and it looks like they're going into battle? Do you even know what that is? It
Yes.
it was years before I knew.
Isn't it for glare?
It's for glare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anywho's, I think if I walk around with this on my nose, people will assume I'm an extreme athlete, which I would love. Being perceived as an extreme athlete would be second only to being handsome for me.
Also, you keep saying any who's,
Sure.
and it's really making me laugh.
Like the Who's down in Who'sville.
Because I think it's just anywho.
Anywho.
Actually, it's anyway. Anywho is already one step removed.
I've jumped the proverbial shark already, so I might as well just keep.
Do you think people are still listening?
No.
All right.
Well, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Drive us crazy. Julia Louis, drive us crazy with your talent. What are your takeaway observations of that interview? First of all, you loved it because you, like me, worship her.
Love her.
But did you have any takeaways, thoughts about me during it?
God.
I just want to own some stuff. This isn't to clap me on the shoulders.
What takeaways?
Because my own self-critique is I was very desperate for her to like me. I mean, I really, really wanted her to like me. Did I feel needy at all during that? A little bit.
No.
12%?
No, I don't think you were needy, but you were.
Too much.
No. I knew that you were trying to get her approval.
Right.
But I don't think she did necessarily. You were flirting pretty hard.
I know.
She nailed you so quickly from the very beginning by listening to 2 minutes of Will Ferrell that you give
Fall
out
in
the
love a
same
lot.
compliments to everybody.
No, I don't.
That you do
not
fall
true.
in love a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we started this debate a couple episodes ago, and I keep cycling back to it. I think there's have you thought about it since?
Wait, what debate?
Well, we talked about falling in love. And I ranked myself on the scale between love addict and 0. And I keep kind of cycling through that debate. I think that's like a juicy realm.
Yeah.
I think
There's some juice there.
There is. You know what? As I've been moving through life, I'll recognize when people have that appetite or whatever it is. I've been aware of it since we had that debate. Mostly self-reflection going, oh, what I felt like you were accusing me of or insinuating was that I just love everyone, which I don't think is true.
Uh-huh.
In fact,
Well, you were saying that. You said you could fall in love with anybody. You said that out of your
yes, not to say that I have, though.
Sure.
I guess what I thought maybe was the implication was that it wasn't sincere. And then I was like, no, you know what? I am very enthusiastic about a lot of people. I really enjoy, like, Rob McElhenney.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Ryan Hansen. I enjoy Aaron Weekly. There's a lot of people I really am wild about. And then I'm like, am I a phony? But I'm not. I have true feelings.
Yeah.
Like overwhelming feelings.
I don't think you're a phony, and I hope that's not how you took it. I guess it is. I'm sorry if you took it that way.
No, it's my fault how I take things. You can tell me what you meant.
No. Oh, here we go again with this old. But I think when you say things like, my favorite person on the planet, and then you've said that about like 40 people. It doesn't feel phony, but it feels like, oh, that phrase to you just doesn't mean what it means to me. I say that about one person if I'm saying my favorite person on the planet.
Well, just by the structure of the sentence, yes, it implies one person. But you and I agree on the notion that Mindy Kaling suggested, which is it's a tier.
Best friend is a tier.
Is a
her thing.
tier.
Which I love that.
And for me, favorite person in the world is a tier.
Okay.
I feel like I always say one of the things. I don't?
No.
Okay. All right.
And it's fine. You're also doing it for effect. And so I get that. As someone who you might say that about
You're
at
definitely
some
my
point.
favorite person in the world. Yes.
So it just
feels less special.
And it feels like, oh, that doesn't really mean anything to him.
Well, but hold on. Can I make a defense for myself?
Of course.
I believe that a phony would be someone who's like, oh, Rob McElhenney's my favorite person in the world. And then I go around saying that. And I tell him that when I see him. But then when he texts me, I take 2 days later, I respond to him. Or if he asks me for a favor, I ignore it. Or I do feel proud of the fact that anyone I feel that way about, I am there. I'm so available for everyone I love.
Of course.
It's not like I'm just saying it and then my actions don't match that.
They do. You're not a phony. No one is saying that.
Okay.
I know that all those people you're saying that about, you love intensely. It's just a matter of, it's literally just a a language, a syntax thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, who cares? It's just everyone's different. I don't use phrasing like, I'm very exclusive, limited edition about using
superlatives.
That kind of superlatives. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You're stingy with your superlatives.
I am very, very, very. But what's funny is like, I think you really like that about you, and as you should. And
I like what about me?
that you love so many people and that you feel that way about a lot of people. I think you like that about yourself, but you should.
Can I just tell you one thing? For me, it's a singular reason to be alive.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that's giving me joy, now that I don't do drugs or drink,
Yeah.
is interacting with the people I love.
Well, I have that too.
Right.
And I get a ton of joy from the people around me, but I don't think every one of those people is my favorite person on the earth. I still love them and I love spending time with them.
But do you think it's a part of our Americanism that there's like everything, we're obsessed with rank and the
Hierarchies.
best? It's like, I
Probably.
think a thing to strive for would just be a universal kind of unbridled joy and love for one another. And
Yes, but again, it's not like I'm like, that person is not my favorite person on the planet, so I'm not going to hang out with them, or I'm not going to have fun with them, or I'm not going to love them. Like, it's a different
Right.
thing. Anyway, what my point was, you like that about you, and that's great. And I like the thing about
your
me.
exclusivity.
I do. I like that people are reserved in different areas of sort of specialness. It's all good. It's all valid. It's just there's a difference in the way I view people.
I can give you an example that I think maybe you'll agree with.
Okay.
Which is both of my kids I love the most.
Yeah, I think children are an exception to this.
But I'd argue they shouldn't be.
Well, no. That's a different love. That's a different thing happening.
I don't know.
I do. I think there's no relationship like one with your children. They're people you made.
Yeah. There's areas of the relationship that are very unique to the relationship.
Yeah.
But there's the cellular feeling that I think is quite comparable to how I feel about some other people.
Yeah.
Handful of other people.
I just feel
Two
like
hands full of other
45 other people.
Well, my mom,
Of course.
I get like filled with, you know,
Yeah.
and Aaron Weekly. And then Nate was over the other day and we were both talking to Nate and I was like, oh, that's right. I just like am so lit up if Nate's around and talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, back to Julie.
So you said Let the Right One In is Scandinavian.
I thought it was Danish, but
Yeah, and it's Swedish.
Swedish.
2008 Swedish.
Denmark's Scandinavian now. Is it Finland, Sweden?
I think so.
Okay. Norway and Denmark?
Something like that,
That
probably.
feels
Sounds
good.
right to me.
Feels good.
Yeah. Okay, so you've said this before. I've corrected it, and you said it again.
Uh-oh.
You said
Double whammy?
your Wikipedia page says Daximus.
Oh, someone must have removed it.
It did. Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
talked about this before. You definitely did, probably. I believe you about that for sure.
Okay.
But it no longer says that. Remember, because I said yours is really long?
Too long, yeah.
Well, it was just like, it's very detailed and long. But they have the correct origin, your correct full name.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Dax Shepard.
Yeah. Who owns Wikipedia?
Ooh, this is a good mystery to be solved.
Right. Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales has described Wikipedia as an effort to create and distribute a multilingual, free encyclopedia of the highest quality to every single person on the planet in his or her own language. Who owns the website? Wikipedia's tech framework is supported by a nonprofit parent organization, the Wikimedia Foundation Incorporated, which also supports Wikipedia's sister projects, including Wiktionary, Wikibooks, and others, and owns all of their domain names. Previously, the site was hosted on the servers of Bornis Incorporated, a company mostly owned by Jimmy Wales, the creator. With the announcement of the Wikimedia Foundation on June 20th, 2003, the ownership of all domain names was transferred to the foundation. The site is run by the community of Wikipedians guided by the principles articulated by Jimmy Wales, including, for example, an adherence to a neutral point of view. So Jimmy Wales created it, and now it belongs to Wikimedia Foundation.
Okay. I think Wiki should get in, because I feel very bad for the Tiki Torch people because those white nationalists, they chose that product and now there's a bad connotation with those Tiki Torches. So maybe the Wiki Torches, they could come in and rebrand it.
Okay. What is that?
The door's open. So
Yeah, but Is there a monster truck pull happening in the yard?
Oh,
Oh, exciting.
pool.
The future side of the pool?
Cool.
Cool pool.
This just reminded me because of the pool. This isn't actually on my list, but we talked in this episode about keeping your kids humble.
Mm-hmm.
What we didn't really talk about, which I think is an important layer to this, is in theory, kids should never fly first class.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, uh-huh.
But it's way too convenient and it's too much better for the adult
Uh-huh.
to fly first class. I think the thing that people don't consider is like the parent then has to suffer sometimes to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to say, I guess we'll fly coach because I can fly first class, but these kids probably shouldn't fly first class.
Yeah.
And no one is making that decision. Like that is a very hard thing to sacrifice. My point is that it's impossible to ask people to do that. Anyone would make that decision.
Yeah. No one likes flying. It's
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
awful.
Yes, it's the whole thing's inconvenient.
Yeah.
Parking at the airport, going through security, the lineup at the gate, all of it blows.
Yeah.
It is definitely better in first class. It's less inconvenient.
Yeah.
And so for me, because I'm frugal, I just started flying first class when I was buying the tickets, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to do that. But I travel so much that I'm like, you know what? Why have money if not for making something I have to do all the time less of a beating?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is that's what happens when you have those means.
Yeah.
And to then say, but I could, and my life would be so much easier, and I'd feel way happier flying first class, but I won't. People don't do that. And that's also okay.
I'll even
Although it does get tricky because how do you then...
sure, because then you can make the same argument about flying private, and then all of a sudden your kids are flying around private. Yeah.
Yeah, then that's what they're used to in the world. That's their experience on Earth. Yeah, it's just an element of the conversation that sometimes doesn't get said is when you're talking to, like, because you mentioned you have a friend who has like a huge house and talks about keeping their kids normal, and you're like, your actions don't really
Reflect.
Yeah, and I think you got to cut that person a little bit of slack because for them, having that house is convenient. It's flying first class. Having a room for this is so much
Well,
better
you and I
for
have
me.
argued about this in the past.
Yeah.
I actually don't think you can make an argument that a house above 6,000 square foot is convenient. You've run out of things to put in the
Well, you
rooms.
don't
There's just a
know.
bunch
We
of
don't
empty.
know.
We don't know.
We don't know. They
Yeah.
could have a huge family that comes all the time. We don't know the details.
But could we agree that some people build really ostentatious houses for their ego and the presentation of it?
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm just saying if you're displaying that your self-esteem is rooted in your display of wealth, that's a tricky thing to pass on to your kids.
Definitely.
I can say with total conviction, my self-esteem is not linked to that.
I know that.
So I'm not too worried about passing that part on.
Yeah, it just gets so hard because
There's all a bunch of traps along the way.
yeah, and it is really important, I think, to grow up walking through first class and thinking like, who gets to sit here?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you get to do that?
Well, on this topic, I went yesterday. I had like 4 hours of free time. So I took my Roadmaster out and I drove around downtown LA. And then I sat in MacArthur Park and played with my new iPad and played Catan.
Oh.
And I actually had this thought. My mom used to drive us down Woodward around Long Lake to show us mansions when we were kids. And she'd pull up to houses and be like, this is where the doctors live. This is where the lawyers live, right?
Oh, wow.
And I was weirdly thinking, I've got to do the reverse of that. I've got to start taking Lincoln on these drives with me and go, hey, check out how the rest of the world's living.
Yeah.
People don't have their own anything.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm going to have to do the opposite of what my mom did. I don't know. It's all tricky because then you're like, well, am I just making the kid feel guilty that they were born in this house?
No.
Like, am I asking her to carry around guilt?
No, I don't think it's carrying around guilt. It's opening up the reality of the world to her because her world is small.
Oh, rich people problems. Hashtag rich people problems.
Oh, boy. Okay, when did the birth control pill come to pass? So she said in the 60s, and you said it was newer than that.
Yeah, I thought
and
it
I
was the
said
70s.
that I was going to fact check it. The sexual revolution and the pill in the early 1950s, philanthropist Catherine McCormick had provided funding for biologist Gregory Pincus to develop the birth control pill. which was approved by the FDA in 1960.
Oh, wow. On the dot.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you tried to say
Uh-oh.
the adjective of anarchy, and none of us could say it. We all tried.
Yeah, because it's not anachronistic.
Right.
That's a different word
Yes,
entirely.
that word is about like time.
Right.
Belonging to a period other than that being portrayed.
So like if you saw a cell phone in a Western, that'd be anachronistic?
Yeah, I guess.
What? There was a word Tuesday night at my AA meeting from the book someone reads before we start, and it was conviviality.
Oh.
And
I feel like I've looked up that word before.
everyone was just blasting through their shares as if everyone knew what conviviality was. And then one guy goes, look, guys, I am not smart enough to know what conviviality. And then about 10 other people's like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck that word means either. It's just kind of joyous and boisterous and gregarious, basically, at a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how we can remember that? Because it kind of sounds like lively.
Conviviality.
In my head. The viviality part sounds like lively.
Right. I think the root of it, vital, from Latin, is life. You know, I think I'm particularly good at this because of being dyslexic, where I so regularly did not know what the word was.
Yeah.
I couldn't sound it out or whatever, and I had to use the words around it to kind of...
Context clues.
Yes. And I feel like I'm kind of good at that. You know, the Scientology tradition is you look up every word, you clear it, which is kind of a cool practice.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I feel like I can figure out about 70% of words I don't know just by the sentence.
Yeah.
You know.
I think I have that too. Maybe not as much as you because I wasn't dyslexic, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think anachronistic, you're driving down a house of like modern homes, and then maybe there's like an old-timey Victorian home. That would be anachronistic.
Oh, I hope so.
So
it also makes me think of spiders.
Sure.
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia, yeah.
Acronophobia.
There's also acrophobia. Acrophobia is of heights.
And then agoraphobia, wide open places.
Agoraphobia, yeah. Okay, the actual way to pronounce it is anarchic.
Ooh, anarchic?
Yeah.
I've never used that word.
Me either.
No.
It's a new word. Okay, so remember she told the story about Lena thanking Julia. Julia and Tina. I mean, I laugh so hard at that, but also I feel that way too.
Of course.
It's not an age thing. Because when I was looking up this, which it was the Golden Globes 2013, that's what I was looking up, what the actual ceremony was. And when I Googled it, there were like articles about age bashing.
Oh, come
and I was
on.
like,
That's not age bashing.
no.
Both things are true. I definitely see Lena being very deferential.
Yeah.
And I also see Julia going, come on, man, you don't have to say you were a child when I was working.
I don't know that she said I'm a child. She probably just said, like, I grew up. She probably said, I grew up watching these people.
She said, I was delivered in a room where Seinfeld was being played on the television.
Baby. No, but if I was in a category with all the friends and I won, knock on wood, I hope that happens. Of course, how could I not say, this is so exciting to be put in a category with these people I've revered my whole life.
Right.
But then they get upset about that.
Well, it's happening to me more and more.
Yeah.
And it's no one's fault. It is a reminder of like, oh, geez, yeah. So yeah, I'm getting up there. Oh, movie star problems. Hashtag movie star problems.
All these stupid problems. You said you thought you heard on Stern that Seinfeld wished he'd been able to enjoy the process. I listened to some of his most recent Stern. I couldn't find it, and I couldn't find anything about that. And I also feel like maybe I heard that too. So I wonder if it was on comedians in cars getting coffee.
It might have also been there, but it was definitely on Stern.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Well, how are you sure? Oh, this is like earlier when you told me you were infallible at driving.
Driving, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing I'm great at.
No, that's two separate things. You are great. You're
perfect.
No, nobody is perfect at anything. That is my point. This is close to the flying the airplane debate.
Well, don't you see the connective tissue, the common denominator? Is I'm very arrogant with my ability to operate machinery.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think you can put anything in front of me that moves, and I could figure that thing out in under a half hour and then drive it pretty proficiently within an hour. Like, do you remember someone left a excavator here in the yard? and they left the keys in it. So I started up and started excavating the yard, and I was doing a darn good job. I was operating all the different accoutrements on it.
I think you could do that. I don't have any problem
You
with
just
that
want to
sentence
describe
you
that as
just said.
perfect.
Exactly.
Okay. I think I did a perfect job learning to do it by myself.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
One of my character defects is arrogance, but the peak of the arrogance is with this on this topic. I really think I'm a top gun.
I truly not relate to feeling like I'm perfect at anything.
Yeah, me either. Other than that, that's my one thing. I always have these fantasies of a post-apocalyptic life and how I'll be the only one alive. And I'm like, how many years before I convince myself I can fly a jet? Because I certainly would. I would drive it up and down the runway a few times and be like, I think I got this. And I would probably die.
You would die.
I probably would. I know I can fly a helicopter. I told you, because when I was flying to work without a paddle, I watched the guy fly it every day, and I was like, I got it. I watched and I got it.
That you could, oh my God.
Absolutely
you
could fly a
watch someone
helicopter.
do something and then you're like, yeah,
I could do it.
I can definitely do that.
I feel really confident about that.
So strange.
Is it, though, nice to see me feel so confident about something?
I want you to be confident. You don't, there's a layer there. You are the most competent in that realm that I've ever seen or met.
Thank you.
But I would not say that you're perfect and you're not infallible.
We'd have to be specific about what we're labeling a failure. I think hitting someone would be a failure. Crashing's a failure. If I don't ever do that, then haven't I reached perfection?
Yeah.
Or haven't I been infallible?
Yes. But we're not there. You don't know.
I hope on my deathbed you'll give that to me. I want, as I'm dying, I want you to look into my face and go, by God, you were right. You were infallible. And then I will drift off into the next dimension with such a smile on my face. Like the kids will be going, you were such a great dad. Yeah, whatever. Monica, I think Monica has something to say here that sounds like I might have my interest.
So the Malcolm Gladwell number for happiness is 75,000. Okay, but that was a long time ago. Psychologists from Purdue University and the University of Virginia analyzed a Gallup poll from 1.7 million people in 164 countries and cross-referenced their earnings and life satisfaction. Although the cost and standard of living varies across these countries, researchers came up with the bold conclusion. The ideal income for individuals is $95,000 a year for life satisfaction and $60,000 to $75,000 a year for emotional well-being. Families with children, of course, will need more.
They are pricey.
The study published in the journal Nature Human Behavior found that once the threshold was reached, further increases in income were actually associated with reduced happiness.
Reduced happiness. Yeah. It's a miracle you're happy, Monica.
I'm not.
Oh, you're not? It's taking a toll.
Yep.
Would you say you were happier when you made less money?
You know, if I'm being really honest.
Yeah, be honest.
I kind of think so.
Think so?
I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with the money. I like having things I can't have. I mean, I sort of have a hard to get complex in life in general.
It's part of your identity.
Well, I guess limited edition.
Yeah.
That's sort of that wrapped up in a bow a little bit.
But it's a very weird transition from like, oh my God, I really want that car. If I could afford that car, for me, if I could, the whole time I was broke. If I could afford that car, blah, blah, blah. To then go like, I could buy that car. Should I? Is that responsible? Like, it shifts from fantasy, which is fun, and you can be indulgent in, and then real life going like, is that practical?
Yeah, and start making real decisions. I really want a house.
Right.
And it seemed really impossible for a long time.
Of course,
truly
in Los
impossible.
Angeles.
Like, this is just not an option. So
it is.
I would want it so bad. And now it's becoming a little bit more of an option.
Yeah, and it comes with stress, right?
Yeah. So then there was one I saw a couple weeks ago that is incredibly gorgeous and cute and lovely. So I've been thinking about that lately, and I was like, what should I do? Should I get that house? But then all these like practicalities start coming in. Oh, and then our friend Eric was over. He looked at 2 pictures and he said, buy it.
Okay, sure. That doesn't surprise me at all.
He said, buy it immediately. And then that night I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think I might be lonely there. And that was really sad. This thing I've been wanting, if I'm just a small person, in this house.
A miniature mouse in a maximum house.
Yeah. I think I might feel lonely.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the reality kind of overshadows the fantasy, and then it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Rich people.
God.
Problems. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I love you.
Okay, bye.